What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie2988 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. And today, Bethesda let everybody know that they would no longer be sending out review codes for YouTubers or media outlets to be able to review their games. Those review codes would only go out exactly one day before the game comes out, meaning that, meaning that no one will really have a chance to review the game. Now, I'm going to be as objective as I can be on this because I want to show both Bethesda's side of it and the consumer side of it and break it down in every way that I can. However, you should know a little bit about me before we start. I play video games as part of my job here on YouTube. I stream video games 5 nights a week on Twitch. I talk about the video games I play in my personal time here, and I play some video games over on my gameplay channel, albeit rarely. So I do have a slight invested interest in this, but you should know I've only in my lifetime reviewed a handful of games because I've only ever gotten a handful of review codes in my life, maybe 15 or 20. It's not something I seek. I tend to pay for my games, and I like to pay for those games. I don't really have very many contacts with these companies. These companies do reach out to me, and generally I tell them, don't worry about it, I'm going to buy the game to support them anyway. So as I said, Bethesda has recently made a statement saying that they will no longer supply review codes to media outlets, YouTubers, and streamers, and so on and so forth until one day before the game comes out. And the reasoning for this is because they want reviewers to play the exact same version of the game that the consumer who purchased the game will play, and they want them to play it at the exact same time. Now, obviously, there's a good side to that. A lot of video games need a day 1 patch. Hell, some of them need a day 2, day 3 patch, and then a first week patch. A lot of these games are incomplete, and by the time I or anybody else would get a review code, generally that day 1 patch isn't there. So the experience that you're reviewing might be different from the experience that the consumer will get when they buy the game. That stands to reason. The problem with that is it does not give a reviewer, either a media outlet or a YouTuber or a streamer, to get a real opportunity to complete the game, to play the game fully. If they only get a code for 24 hours and the game takes more than 24 hours to beat, absolutely it's not possible. But even if it's only a 12 or 15 hour game, it is very difficult for groups of players, even in shifts, to be able to play that game in time to get a review out by the time people are able to purchase the retail version of the game. And that is fairly anti-consumer. There are still plenty of consumers who rely on their favorite YouTuber, their favorite streamer, or their favorite media outlet, or the Metacritic aggregator as a determination of whether or not to go through with the purchase on day 1 or during the first week. And obviously, these consumers are waiting for us to review the game. But if we don't have enough time to review the game, they don't have enough time to see the review before the purchase date comes. This is especially frustrating if they pre-ordered the game and they're determining whether or not to pick it up or transfer the credit elsewhere. Those consumers are just screwed entirely by this. Now, the argument can be made, because it was made by Bethesda, that, look, we did this for Doom, and Doom is one of the best games that has ever been made in its genre. Obviously, this is safe to do. You can trust our company. You can trust our games. We're not going to put out crap. Of course, that is until they do. I would ask the question, if your games are consistently good, why would you be afraid to send out review codes? That doesn't make any sense. Send out review codes so that people can see actual gameplay of your game. You can win over not just your trusted, loyal fan base consumers, but also those who are cynical and are worried about spending their money. You can get my fan base or a media outlet's fan base or another YouTuber or streamer's fan base by sending them a review code. All it could do is help sales if you know your games are consistently good. That's not a good reason to do that. Well, there are some media outlets and some YouTubers and some streamers you absolutely cannot trust for the review code. There are some people out there who will crap all over a really good game. And yes, there's some media outlets out there who will use the launch of a AAA game that's got a lot of marketing and a lot of buzz to push their political agenda, not really caring about the game itself. And these kinds of things, I could see where Bethesda would want to avoid that. But there is a better way to handle that. Rather than blanking everyone out from getting review codes, you can just pick and choose who gets review codes. The people who turn out to be absolutely crazy or push a political agenda or don't actually review the game, those are the people that you can choose to skip. And this isn't a perfect system. In fact, that's a fairly poor system, but it's better than the one that Bethesda has currently prompted. And we know that EA actually does that. Jim Sterling recently said that he has discovered that he no longer gets codes from EA because they consider him too much of a wild card and they can't predict his reviews. That's a shitty thing to do, and that's a shitty system. It's a lot better than not giving out review codes at all or not giving them out to the last day. An even better way to handle it is what we've always done, which is send out review copies to every trusted media outlet out there and get your game fully reviewed and stand on the quality of your work. But hey, that's just crazy talk, I guess, Bethesda. Here's the thing I will say for Bethesda. Nobody is entitled to a review code. Not me, not Kotaku, not Total Biscuit. Nobody is entitled to a review code. It is entirely up to Bethesda to do what they want to do when it comes to the review process. The flip side of that coin is that also the sale of the game is not guaranteed. And a lot of consumers who rely on seeing somebody they trust play that game or seeing several reviews of people that they trust about that game are not going to purchase. They're not going to pre-order. They're not going to purchase on day one. In fact, they'll wait for the reviews to come out. They'll probably even wait for the first price drop of the game at the end of the first month where it drops $20 in price. And that's good for the consumer. So if you force us to do that, a lot of us smart consumers, we're going to do that. Because while there are many reasons for Bethesda to do this, there really is only one. They are a corporation, and just like any other corporation, they are thinking about money. If you look at this at the most innocent parameters as possible, you could see a company that knows their work is good, trusts their works, and doesn't want their bottom line to be damaged by loose cannons and wild cards and crazy people who will push their political agenda, therefore damaging their marketing and damaging their game, ultimately damaging their sales. That's the most innocent way to approach this. But the reality is much more nefarious because it sets a precedence in which they can sell a game that is subpar, either mediocre or very, very bad, and get excellent sales based on pre-orders and people who buy on day one, knowing they'll never see independent gameplay of that game. They will never see a third party review it or talk about it. All they'll see is marketing, and obviously they're going to tell you it's a good game to sell it. And I'm going to be honest, on a year that Sean Murray just shit the bed with No Man's Sky, this is a bad direction to be going in. We should be going in the other direction where there are more review copies and more third-party play so that you can make an informed decision so we don't get screwed over more. Bethesda, this is just a bad move. And don't get me wrong, I still love Bethesda. I love their intellectual properties. I love their games, and I've been buying them for the last 20 years. And that's exactly what Bethesda is trying to take advantage of today. They're trying to make this move that is anti-consumer, knowing they have a very loyal fan base and people like me, other YouTubers, other streamers, other media outlets, and people like you watching at home right now. They know that you're still going to buy Bethesda games moving forward, and this is going to allow them to set this very, very bad precedence. Not just a bad precedence when their company is involved, but for gaming as a whole, because every gaming industry member is going to see this, and if we let Bethesda away with it, then guess what? They're going to follow suit and do the exact same thing, which will put us into a world where you and I as consumers will no longer be able to see third-party game reviews, third-party gameplay, and be able to make an honest opinion for ourselves. Instead, we will be stuck relying only on the marketing. And that is very, very bad. I'm glad to say that No Man's Sky was an exception, a game that I still kind of enjoyed, but I know a lot of you hated, and I don't want that to become the rule instead of the exception. So as always, to the consumers out there, be wary. You don't have to buy on day one, and you certainly do not have to pre-order. Please exercise that right. If Bethesda wants you to wait a weekend to purchase their game and wait till we review, you should abide by that and absolutely do that. Wait till the reviews come out. Let them see slow sell figures in the first week, and maybe they'll change their mind. And if anybody from Bethesda is watching, specifically the marketing fool who made this decision, yes, it's good for your company. I understand that. It's good for your company's bottom line. It's real bad for the industry, and it's real bad for the consumer. Please consider changing your mind. Guys, that's just one man's opinion. I could be wrong. Thanks as always for watching. I love you very much, and I'll speak with you again soon. Am I still picking up Skyrim Special Edition on day one? Oh, what am I saying? I'm a PC player. I pretty much had that with mods for years.